Welcome everyone to another iAM Live. We are here and ready to explore technology and how we are exploring how technology and humanity can actually work in harmony instead of competing together. If you are joining us for the first time, welcome. And if you're back for another episode, thanks for the support, and we are glad that you're here. Deanna and I, are joined by Matt Batchler. He is the CTO of Main Street Technical Services. They help organizations unlock practical, secure, and cost-effective ways, bringing AI into daily operations. We are excited today to chat about turning AI from a buzzword into a business tool. And he's going to share some real world stories and insights from the front lines. So welcome, Matt. We are excited to have you here. Thanks for joining us and coming on for us here bright and early here in Charlotte. So thanks. If you want to, the stage is yours. You can give us an introduction, tell us a little bit about you, and we can kick off the AI discussion.
Certainly. No, Jen D, thanks for having me, and excellent music to start the morning. That's got me up and got me
back on.
Yeah. We're going to do another 30 seconds of it if we could. Thank you again. As stated, my name is Matt Batchler, CTO here at Main Street. As you said, we're an end-to-end enterprise data services organization. Currently in our 25th year, we were founded in 2000. And again, focus on end-to-end enterprise data. So essentially helping customers in all aspects of their enterprise data lifecycle, if you will. So from finding and storing your data, so whether that be database, cloud hosting, hybrid, whatever, through the enterprise application, JD Edwards, Nextworld, PeopleSoft, Infor, EBS, through the integration of that data. So how does that data move within your organization and helping facilitate that and govern that? And then ultimately the activation of it. So what do you do with that data, right? It's great to have data, but what do you do with it? Is that reporting? Is it analytics? Operational data stores, data warehouses, data lakes, all that other stuff. And that could even go up into some sophisticated things like reverse ETL and other stuff, but more importantly, it's in the AI space. And so we activate our data leveraging AI and automation, and that's what we'll talk about today. But our difference really in the industry, we think, is the way we deliver all of these services. So we do that in a manner that's very flexible with different service models that use all senior level, all US-based resources that are extremely cost effective. So again, thanks for having us, and excited to talk more about our journey here.
Yes, I think we could probably sit here for hours and talk about this journey. So you said a lot there. So let's kick it off with just some AI myths. Do you have a few? We can get the chat going. What are a few AI myths that the marketplace is seeing and hearing to where you're over there going, that's not entirely correct?
Yeah, that's another one. Just that in and of itself could be a couple hours, but a couple of the big ones are cost. I think that AI has to be expensive, or oh my gosh, this is such an expensive endeavor. And in reality, it could be, but generally it's not. So we're actually, funny enough, because it's top of mind, we've had 2 calls over the last, 4 or 5 days now, where I've actually had prospects or customers gasp when we're talking, and they go, okay, just level with me. What is this? And I'll kind of go through, well, we're looking at this. And I literally get a gasp like, are you kidding? I'm like, no, what are we missing? No, that's what we're talking, this is what we're going through. And they're like, oh my gosh, what we needed to be talking about this sooner. And we always thought this was going to be 6 figures. The reality of it is, most solid foundational AI investments can be in the sub 6-figure range. So they don't have to be intimidating. You don't have to look at these as major initiatives. They can be, but step into it and create a good foundation of it. And we can talk about that more as we get into the next steps. But the cost is one misnomer, I think, or one fallacy that I think a lot of people are maybe intimidated by. The other one that we've heard, just top of mind, probably the most recent call that I've had is perfect data. Well, I can't do AI because my data is not perfect. We got to have all this master data management in place. And yes, you got to have solid data, but you cannot let perfect be the enemy of good. And even average data, yeah, even average data you can use. And in fact, that might be a good place sometimes to start with AI, is helping it evaluate and helping identify where there might be gaps or where there might be anomalies in your data, and help use that solution to help clean that up. So, and then I guess the last one's a misnomer, is that it replaces people. It doesn't. I mean, that's a loaded term. Yes, it's making things more efficient, but just enterprise as a whole, people have to pivot and adjust and things like that. So it's not about replacing people. It's about making them more efficient and being able to do more and invest more from a business perspective. So I think those are probably the big ones. It's the cost, perfect data, and that it's just all out, a blanket statement that it's going to replace people.
I've always been of the belief that it will replace people. Like, just my negative brain is like, it's going to replace everyone. And we were actually creating a GPT internally to use AI. And I was like uploading what I do. Like, I was trying to create myself. And I was like, I had a whole, document that said, here's what I do on a daily basis. And I uploaded it to AI, so my team could go out if I was out one day and say, what does Dee do? And it would tell them. And I was testing it out and it was wrong. Number one, it was wrong. Like, I literally fed it what I do, in a document, and it couldn't give me like bullet points. It was adding stuff. It was like pulling stuff out of thin air. I was like, that would be cool, but I don't do that. And so I was like, I don't trust it. So even when you feed it data, I don't trust it. And then two, I was like, I can't actually replace a human, because we still need people to logically think and say, is this actually true and accurate, what I'm seeing?
Yeah.
Like, those are my two takes on I don't know if those are myths or add to what you just said, but
no, that's exactly right. Yeah, real world experience. You're exactly right.
Yeah.
So I think to add to that too, we've had a few great guests over this summer, and one of them has an AI learning center. And leading up to iAM Live, we were having conversations, and the takeaways are: it's not as much replacing it you have to worry about. You need to educate and know how to use it. And, here at iAM, that's been a challenge that we've had here in the leadership team, is to assure that we know how to use it and how's it going to help our business, to help our clients, and make things, a little more efficient. But we need to know how to use it and spend that time a lot more than we have to worry about it actually replacing us, because it does make mistakes. You do need to have that logical brain and make decisions for the data that comes out. So,
well, Jen, I know you said, we were talking before, this kind of leads into the green room conversation about, hey, do you have anything catchy for your name? And I don't think quick on my feet like that, but it does bring up, I probably should have put in there, I'm an abuser of analogies. And so when I train, I do a lot of training, whether it's around organizational change management, innovation, AI, JD Edwards, and no code platforms, things of that nature. But I use analogies all the time. Some of the things that we talk about, one of the core things when we're training kind of AI 101, 102, how to use generative AI and things of that nature, are the concept of we call it our 3 C's, right? So on your input, it's context. On the processing of it as it's interacting, understanding that it's a calculator, not a crystal ball. So it's a second C. And then critical thinking on the output of it. And the critical thinking part is the most important. And that's the human brain. I don't want to call it human in the middle. That there's some truth to that, but that's a whole other topic. But I always use the analogy, kind of bringing that full circle. I use the analogy, or I use the anecdote of my kids. My kids, if I were to put a calculator in front of my 7-year-old right now and do 7 plus 20, they write down 140 and think that's the answer. And it's like, you still have to have some critical thought to that, because that's normal to them. But no, you actually hit 7 times 20, and that's 140. So you have to have that critical thinking mind. We still need our intelligence to kind of bounce off of that, even though you can use AI for that too, a little bit, but we still need our brains, no doubt.
Absolutely. Yes. I mean, at least they used the calculator and they didn't say, hey, and then insert device, right?
Exactly.
Or like you just speak it into the air and then the answer, appears.
Yeah.
Yes, absolutely.
So Matt, we have a lot of customers that, their software, their HRS software is integrating AI into it, but we have our JD Edwards customers where that doesn't really happen. Like, Oracle's not doing it sounds much for the JD Edwards side of the shop, right, to include AI. So Talk to me a little bit about like just case studies, or like what are you guys doing in AI? How can it be used for folks like in JD Edwards where there isn't anything? What are you guys doing?
That's a good question. Yeah, it's Edwards or Oracle is seemingly steered clear, but of embedding it or creating some type of native application. However, they've provided some tools around it. And the most powerful one I think everybody's talked to ad nauseum probably at this point is the AIS and orchestrations, right? The ability to interact in a standard fashion, RESTful standard interface with JD Edwards. And so that kind of opens up and unlocks the ecosystem to interact with JD Edwards and leverage the ecosystem and the tools and tool sets to do that. We see a variety of things, quite honestly. We see things on the fringes, some pretty complex things that we've set up. But in reality, I think two of the biggest buckets of where we're seeing the most traction, one is in image recognition. So what once was done by OCR and things of that nature, we're seeing a lot of folks being drawn into using AI and automation. I'm kind of smashing them together because it goes beyond just AI, right? It's AI and automation combined with it. But we do see it used for the ingestion of different disparate forms, orders, documents, what have you, being able to process that and translate that and pull critical information out in a dynamic fashion. So in the old days, we would have OCR technology where you'd have to take a template of the form that was going to repeatedly be put into the system, and then you had to identify what data elements you wanted, map that over to where you needed it to be mapped over to, and then any difference in that form would have to be adjusted, developed, and tweaked, and all that other stuff. What we've had great success with is that's an open canvas for all intents and purposes. So whether it be an email with the back of a napkin, where, hey, I want an order for this, this, and this, it can translate that. I don't have to set that up in a template. Or if I can bring it in through a spreadsheet or read a picture, somebody takes a picture almost like a receipt. If you see some of the technologies for receipt entry for expenses, all of those things provide a ton of flexibility, but using the same technical platform without a heavy set of development around forms and templates. And anytime a receipt changes or a purchase order changes or a sales order changes, we have to tweak that stuff. So it's extremely flexible in that manner. We see a lot of adoption from there. And then I think the other one that probably is the bigger bucket, or the second biggest bucket with document imaging, is just overall extensibility. So JD Edwards started, so essentially when I say extensibility, like getting that tool out into your mobile device, right? Extending it out to the edge. So having access on your mobile device, on your phone, on a tablet, or what have you. As we know, those of us have been in the JD Edwards realm for years, 20 in my case. Oracle came out with those specific mobile apps 10, 15 years ago, right? And those had some traction a little bit, but you had to have a specific mobile app for each function. And then later, it kind of evolved and some third-party solutions came out, and those optimized decently. So some do it well. So I know we have a shared partner with eFlux and the Swift product. They do a great job of providing that mobile, that extensibility out to your device. Others out in the space don't do it so well. They shall remain nameless, but ultimately leveraging something like AI gives you that single pane of glass so that you can query and interact using just the GPT window. When we typically architect, we're agnostic, so we're not forcing you down a ChatGPT route or Claude or whatever else. We also have internal ones that make sure that they're private and secure. But that can be on a single pane of glass as well. So you have an interface that you can work with and ask JD Edwards about POs, ask orders, ask about the status of a work order, what's on hold, and you don't have to flip between application to application. So there's a lot of value in querying that. The one thing I would say, kind of dovetailing on it, that I see people trying to do that we tend to steer away from is folks that are trying to use AI natively as an analytics tool. And so they're trying to take AI and say, okay, I want to interact directly with a GPT interface, whether it be a private one like ours or ones that we do, or you want to do a more public model with Claude or GPT. They want to say, give me details or give me an analysis of historically late payments or things of that nature. we tend to pull people away from that and say that needs to be, that's great to interact with, but interact with your data warehouse there. That's where your deeper insights and analytics are there. Use more of your transactional information on your transaction system like JDE. So those two buckets, really, the image recognition side and the extensibility are probably the two predominant ones. But again, we've probably got a dozen other things that are out in the fringes there.
What does so I mean, I'm imagining for our listeners trying to figure out like how does this make sense? What does this save me? Image recognition, like in my brain, if I'm hearing you right, like we're HR payroll mostly. So a lot of HR payroll listeners, but let's just say the HR team gets the onboarding document and it's like a literal piece of paper. And normally they'd have to take it. Somebody has to type it into JD Edwards, go to each screen and maybe not even know where a field is that they have to enter. I don't know, whatever. Are you saying that like with your help, you can get AI to like, you scan it, you take a picture of it, however that works, and it like just feeds into E1 and goes where it needs to go, calls an orchestration maybe, but it goes to E1 and updates it all without a person having to key it in, that kind of thing? Is that what we're talking about?
Yeah, I'll put a little caveat there. We certainly don't advocate it to go automatically in. One of the things, and this kind of pulls in that human in the middle. Yeah, this pulls a little bit of that human in the middle that I referenced earlier. That is so critical. But yeah, ultimately, yes. Scan it in, whomever it is that's bringing the data in, they can scan it in, take a picture, send it via email, have it consumed into a different model. We've got various models and things like that we architect, but have that pulled in. Again, human in the middle. We want to send that data, whether it be interactive in the chat window or via email or some other means, to have someone confirm it. Hey, this is all the data that came in.
Yeah.
It looks good to us. Yeah. So we can do that raw. So we can just say, this is the data that was found. Do you want this to be submitted? Yes or no? Yes. Maybe put some security around that with a password or two-factor authentication. Or in other ways, just have it come in and do an additional validation on it. So we've got a customer that's doing sales orders. So emails or different orders come in different various states, and we don't want the internal salesperson to interact with JD Edwards as much as they do and go back and forth. So we have all of that done automatically first. We have AI go make sure that the inventory is there, that the part number is right, the pieces are correct, the order time and ship date is correct. If all of that looks correct, it'll then send it to the CSR for validation, and it'll tell it, hey, we validated all of these things look correct. Do you want to approve it? Yes or no? Boom, yes. And then it's off to the races. So you're really making efficient use of that person's time.
Really cool. I think you wanted to talk a little bit about security too. How do users stay protected when using AI? Because that's a big concern, especially when you're just using stuff that's out there like ChatGPT. Like we always are warned, don't put any like information out there you don't want it to know, because like we don't have much control over that. So
yeah, security, that's one we could go for hours on as well, but it absolutely should not be an afterthought. That's kind of the one takeaway. Make sure it's not an afterthought. Most companies, regardless of if it's JD Edwards, SAP, eBiz, Infor, Nextworld, you've made a significant investment in your ERP. The data in there is critical. One key element, especially in selection of these products, I hope, for these organizations was the application of security. So the last thing you want to do is do an end around on that. There are means, and we're very diligent about using them. There are means to ensure appropriate data security is in place, such that, Deanna, you're not finding a backdoor so that you can get payroll information for everybody, and you're not supposed to have that. If you were in JDE directly, natively, security would prevent you from doing that. We need to make sure that security is appropriately applied out into that extensible piece as well. And that is certainly capabilities and things that we do with kind of table stakes right out of the gate. We got to make sure that we're applying security and leveraging security appropriately for that. So definitely a big takeaway. Yeah, we could talk for hours on the technical setup of it, and the variations of using the AIS server, or if you don't have access to an AIS server, how do you do that and still maintain that security? There's a variety of different paths down that way, but yes, it is absolutely something that needs to be top of mind and consideration.
I would, if I'm thinking as a listener, as an HR leader, a practitioner here that believes they have security. So they say, yes, we are secure. What are a few just housekeeping, if you can say, make sure you have, 1, 2, and 3 to assure that they are secure. Like these are good ones to have because a lot of times they're probably AI is still new, and they're going on the consultant or the individual that told them they were. But what are a few that you would say make sure you have these few in place, and if not, we should probably have a conversation?
Say I got to pull my consultant hat out on that one and say it depends. The reality is one of the things, and folks hate to hear this, I'll say that out of the gate, you have to test. You have to test, you have to test, you have to test. And you have to test even beyond what you're used to testing in the I shouldn't say old days, but when you're doing an application upgrade or a technical upgrade and things of that nature, there's a testing script that generally most companies will go through that they've got internally. I got to know that this matches up with this. I'm going through this process and I don't encounter any errors. The bulk of effort, I shouldn't say the bulk, a significant amount of effort during our projects for implementation are around testing. So we are doing a very thorough job testing and working in collaboration with the customer around testing. There's not a few things. That is probably one of the biggest things. So we're going to lay out upfront with the customer what are the key elements of security. Generally, from a JDE perspective, we will review security. We'll do an audit of their JD Edwards environment so that we can see row security and things like that are in place. So we get an understanding of what's there so that we understand what we need to adhere to, and then how that drives the testing to make sure that we're in alignment with that. And even outside of that, I mean, we have HIPAA compliance. We've got PII data that we have to deal with, and other customers of ours that are not JD Edwards customers. But those are critical elements too. And so the storage, the transmission of the data, you've got to make sure that all of those things are taken into consideration as we're talking about these solutions.
Thanks for sharing that. So great takeaway, absolutely great takeaway for those. If we write anything down, I think security is top of mind for all of us. It's in all of our conversations anytime we talk about AI. So that's outstanding. Thank you. So let's switch gears a little bit. As everyone's listening, I think the other one is, where do we start? Like where does it begin? Where does it start? And even through everything we're talking about, these are all, outstanding topics that we know leaders and individuals would love to, implement immediately, but we can only take on so many projects at a time. No one listening is probably at 0 projects. That just doesn't exist anymore. So where would you say, if they wanted to get started on this journey, where's a great place to begin?
Yeah, that's also a great question. We get that a lot as well. I hope everybody has done this, but I'll say it just to say it. Make sure you have a policy, first and foremost. Make sure your company has a policy in place about the appropriate use of AI. It's something we help our customers with right out of the gate. It's kind of AI 101. It's a key part of our launch AI program is understanding policy and then how that maybe rolls into governance. If your organization dictates that governance is appropriate, then we go in and help formulate governance from there. But outside of that policy, absolutely out of the gate, make sure it's there, make sure people are aware of it. I can't stress that enough. The second thing really, I think, is training and discussion. So one of the things that we did, we learned from, I got to be careful. Internally, we probably didn't train and discuss as early as we should have, hindsight being 2020. So that's one that I see and I push, I'm a big proponent for in almost all of our engagements with customers, is train and discuss. So not only, work with your team and get everybody on the same page. Some might be better, some might be experimenting with AI, most probably are, but have some semblance of foundational training and then discuss and get feedback and understand how your employees and how your team members might use it, what they think are advantages, what their risks and fears are. Get that feedback and do that with open ears. And take all of that in, and don't do it just to check a box. Do it with, true intent of actioning it where appropriate, and then take that and let that roll into a couple of potential easy wins. One of the things we've seen, and we've been called in to rectify a couple of times now, knee-jerk responses. So the VP of IT got pressure from the board. We got to have AI. We got to do something with AI. So they quickly pulled a package off the shelf and throw AI in it, and they get it out there, and there's no policy. There's no long-term strategic initiative, and we're in there kind of pulling stuff back, right? Like, whoa, hang on a second. We got to kind of reset the baseline and then move from there. So the best thing, in my recommendation to not do that, is determine what are easy wins. What is low-hanging fruit? I know that sounds kind of obvious, but really, and take that. A good place to harvest that is from that training and discussion. When you're talking to the folks that have their fingers on the keyboards, what are they doing? How do we solicit that information? How do we prioritize and identify the things that came out of those conversations in alignment with what the business needs are? We also don't want to do something that's not consistent with the business. And then playing with the right people. I know there's a lot of folks that tap somebody on the shoulder because they're the smartest one in the organization, or they're the ones that tinker with the most stuff. That's great, but surround yourself with folks who have done this before, who have experience, who have tried and true. It's worth the investment, because going down this path alone is a recipe for disaster.
I think a great takeaway there is, harvesting the low hanging fruit and even the discussion, and going into those meetings with your employees and staff and having a list being prepared of great questions to ask around your workflows, around your processes. What are they doing? What is a repeated task they're doing over and over, to where AI could save time? Deanna and I have these conversations with clients all the time. What are just some small wins? Like, there are so many things within processes and procedures and workflows, and it could just be a few things, having a consultant and an expert come in, that can save you time and money. But you're in the trenches every day, so you may not see it. Like, you do that same thing over and over, or your team's doing it and they might not share it with you for a multitude of reasons. So being able to grab those quick wins can definitely save some time, especially right now in Q4,
Yes.
and save, the big ones, for the new budget and the new year. So Matt, those are fantastic takeaways. Absolutely. That's great.
Yeah, I appreciate it. That. Yeah, from the other thing that we see enough is back to that concept, or that thought process of somebody in the business who's very technical and is solving a problem for themselves, or a very myopic solve, instead of taking a step back. And so we're seeing there's opportunities where we have to refactor everything on the back end, right? They've implemented something, but it doesn't align with the long-term initiative. So that's another kind of tip too, to make sure you're taking a step back and looking at the entire thing, so that you've got good stepping stones to work up to a bigger picture initiative. I heard a ding. What was that ding? Are we out of time? What happened?
I always forget to silence my cell phone. They're texts.
Oh, okay.
I always forget to, and it dings on everything. Like, everything's connected. Yeah. No,
I thought that was my mic is getting turned off.
No, but I'd never even thought about doing that. So we haven't had any guests yet where we've had to shut their microphone off. Maybe they're coming.
Good. I'm glad I didn't set a precedent. Good.
No, not at all. Well, I know we could keep moving along here. There's some great little nuggets of information to take back. Matt, where can everyone find you?
Yeah, so online, our website is mainstreettech.us. So all spelled out: Main, mainstreettech.us. Or my email. We can put it. Does it make sense to put it in like a chat or something like that?
Absolutely.
Yes,
we can toss it in there. We can toss it all in the chat.
Yeah, we'll throw it in there. Our website has ways to connect with us, or find me on LinkedIn. This will be linked into my profile. So if we're on here and it's recorded, definitely link into me. Shoot me a message on LinkedIn, and we'll get connected for sure.
Excellent. Well, I'm thinking Deanna's, she looks like she's putting that in the chat now. So we'll get that in there so that they have it if you watch it back on YouTube. And we are doing a special LinkedIn Live panel series, 1 hour, with Matt and other team members of ours, specifically diving into the wonderful world of JD Edwards. So that's coming up in November 6th. I don't want to give the wrong date. So November 6th, we are going to be on LinkedIn live here. So if you're watching this and it's before November 6th, check us out. Matt will be on a panel series diving into all things JD Edwards. So Matt, thank you so much. This has been a fantastic time. So
Absolutely. Thank you.
catch
Thank you.
everyone next time. See ya.
Bye.